paper describing the efforts to understand charged particles from these co-deposition cells, which is a very important discovery. It's a smoking gun showing nuclear activity, not at a very high level, but nevertheless nuclear activity where there should be none.
Thank you. I'm going to describe my work to replicate PAM and the SPAWAR group's co-deposition experiments. And I think one of these is the laser. Yes. Okay. So some of the elements that I replicated is I used the same kind of cells, I used the same kind of magnets, I measured the magnetic field with a Gauss meter so I know what the magnetic field is at the cathodes. I did cells with and without magnets. Oh, thank you. I did work. Okay. I did cells with and without magnets, so I could make that comparison. And I used wires for anode and cathode, so that I didn't have to have joints between plates and wires and things like that. I used the CR39, which has been beautifully described earlier, so you know how that works. And I used some from Tassel, which is in the UK, and I also used some from Landauer, which they get from Fukui, in different parts of the experiment. This is what the cells look like. You can see the CR39 is right here, and it's being held on, actually, by silver cathode wires in this case, and you can see the V shape of the cathode wires, which is going to show up later. Again, one cell with magnets and one cell without. This is what they look like after part of the palladium has deposited. You can see the palladium, it certainly looks like palladium, and they deposited on the silver wire there, it's black. And here, again, and the solutions are starting to turn clear. I followed the current protocol that Ludwig described, where you start out at 1/10 of a milliamp and you go up by steps, and then spend a long time here at this 1/2 milliamp phase until all the solution becomes clear. And then once the solution is clear, step up all the way up to 100 milliamps. So the right-hand scale is logarithmic for the current, and the left-hand scale is linear. I measured the voltages on the cells. I don't know exactly what those voltages mean yet, but I thought it was good to record those, and maybe I will learn something from them. This, again, is the cells. The cells are changing, the electrolyte is changing color. A curious thing here is that the silver wires are now bowing away from the plastic. This was not the idea. I had hoped that they would stay in contact, but you get what you get. You also see there's a little bit of deposition onto the CR39. Here you see a lot of deposition onto the CR39, here and here. Basically, they may not look totally clear, but basically these solutions are clear. I also made sound recordings, which I don't think I'm going to play for you today, but they're quite noisy, some of them. Some of them are more clear. You hear sort of a tick, 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 tick. I have no idea what that is. Maybe some of the more experienced electrochemists in this room know what that is. I also added additional detectors, which I alluded to at the beginning. I added some detectors on the outside here. I was just hoping, as Oriani and others have found, that there might be tracks outside the cell to be found in the exit gas. And also here, these are actually designed as neutron detectors, and they were shipped to me as sort of like little free samples, and I thought, well, why not stick them on there? So let's see. This is, let me back up a second. Inside here, of course, is the CR39, and you can see it's getting quite fouled up in there at this point in the electrolysis. And I'll show you now the CR39. Before etching, you can see there's a fair amount of deposition onto the CR39, or maybe erosion of the CR39. I don't know, but there's definitely some alteration of the CR39 before etching. In other words, it's been through electrolysis, but it has not been through etching to develop the tracks. I did not look at them under the microscope at this stage. Here's what they look like after etching. You can see that characteristic V shape now. That did not appear here. No characteristic V here, but there is here. So after etching, you can see the where the electrode was. These pieces outside, of course, don't see anything particular at this stage. And I'm now in the next slide going to show you microscope pictures near the tips of these V's. By the way, this V appears to be raised by about 50 microns. I need to confirm that over the bulk surface out here. I don't know why. Okay, so here you see those dark edge pits that people have been talking about. And if you focus in on them, you do get somewhat of a sort of a large bright spot in the middle, not a tiny bright spot, but a large bright spot. Sort of like what you see here, a large bright spot. And you see a lot of other stuff going on. So I think, particularly if I were using an automated system, I would find it challenging to measure the diameters of these accurately. And I need to look more at how that's done and come to learning more. You can see also Larry and Gary were very kind to do a scan of one of my pieces of CR39. I think maybe by now they've scanned a couple more. And you can see this characteristic V shape again where the cathode was. And there's other things going on too. So there's definitely more exploration to be done here as to what exactly are these tracks. There's different populations. There's a large diameter population and a smaller diameter population, as has been previously described by other speakers who are using CR39. And again, I need to do more work on this. I need to actually choose representative members of each population and then dial them in on the microscope, because I do have the coordinates of these edge pits. For every edge pit that's represented here, I have a coordinate. I need to dial that in and go and look at that under the microscope and say, okay, what does this particular edge pit look like? What are some representative members of each of these populations? But because of what I showed you here, that there's quite a bit of damage here on the CR39 and quite a bit of interesting other stuff that I don't think is nuclear edge pits, confusing the situation. I then wanted to be able to do something where I was protecting the CR39 from the electrolyte. And let me just say briefly, to change subjects a minute, I did do an electron microprobe scan of this at low resolution. Did not see any transmitted elements, but this is low resolution. It needs to be done at high resolution and on more spots. Anyway, so here you can see just a thin filmy plastic there, and you can see it better over here. On the right-hand case, the CR39 is actually below the electrolyte barrier by 3 millimeters, maybe about the width of that O-ring. It's about down there. It's where the top of the CR39 is. And I had 2 sheets of CR39, one on top of the other. Here again, 2 sheets of CR39. This is because after Larry reported to me that he was seeing tracks on the back side of the CR39, I thought, well, if they can appear on the back side of one sheet, maybe they can appear on the front side of the next sheet. So 2 sheets. In this case, the CR39 is actually mechanically supporting the plastic barrier. And after removal from the experiment, having been squashed that way for a little bit, I did actually see an impression of an O-ring. That impression disappeared mostly after etching. Here, obviously, there's no impression because there's no mechanical contact. The CR39 is simply supported in air by a little Teflon support. So now, in the next slide, I'm going to show you some tracks I saw on these pieces. So on the right here is a large track and a small track. Most fields of view showed no tracks, but there were definitely tracks to be seen. I don't yet know how these compare to background. That needs to be done. But I do know how they compare to americium edge pits. In each corner of these pieces here and the pieces here, I'm sorry, not these, but these. In each corner of these, which, by the way, just like the initial experiment, I did with and without magnet. So I'm showing you one cell here, but there's actually 2, one with magnet and one without. And here, again, there's a cell with and without. I'm showing you the cell without. So here, in those smaller cells, the americium pits, here I'm looking at americium pits that were sort of off-center from where the americium source was, so you get a substantial angle going on here. And some of these pits you see an angle too there. In fact, when I focus down on this, I didn't record the photograph for you, but when you focus down on this, you see actually this sort of hazy area on the upper right here actually comes into focus. So there is actually a rounded part below the surface. I'm quite confident that this is an etch pit from a nuclear track. I don't know yet whether it's a background radon track or whether it's a track from the experiment. Likewise, this sort of thing looks, it's probably a nuclear pit. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. Yes, 2 minutes, perfect. So I want to acknowledge everyone and open to questions.
What's the reason for
SPAWAR protocol that I was trying to replicate, they had seen the difference between cells with magnets and cells without. I'll make it a little high volume. And in fact, in this original setup, I not only applied magnets, but I applied magnets in the same locations that they had. So I was very careful to put the magnetic, I don't know whether my north-south was the same, but the general direction of the magnetic field was the same, the location of the cells, the sizes of the cells. I was basically trying to replicate their experiment as much as possible. Later on, when I was doing experiments of a different format, then I thought, well, I just might as well do them with and without magnets because it's an excuse to run two cells, and maybe I'll see a difference. Oh, the white label ones, I still need to analyze those. Yeah, thank you.
How long do you do your immersion control time?
I did a 4-second exposure at point-blank range to the americium from a 0.9 microcurie smoke detector.
I just think it's really neat that you can, this protocol, you can just engineer it and everybody's doing it. One of the problems with cold fusion was everybody was doing something else.
New Energy Institute, an independent, non-profit, public benefit corporation which provides information and educational services to help bring about a clean energy revolution.